Hello YouTube land, fans and friends. Welcome to another video here with Rosie, Jenn and the Rosie girl. Today, guess what? Not only does the Rosie girl bake, but she also cooks. And she makes a hellaciously good beef Italian stew. And I think for tonight, Sunday evening, that's exactly what she is going to make. So let's go in the kitchen, take a peek, and see what is happening in the kitchen. There she is.
Morning everyone. I love that hellaciously delicious Italian style beef stew, and welcome into the kitchen again to all of you. I know that you're used to seeing me do baking, and I've made so many different things since Christmas time, and well, we never knew so many people would enjoy the baking on the channel. So we thought today, since I usually make Sunday night dinner, or Jen does, that we would share that with you. Now it is February now, it is cold outside, it is rainy, so it's the perfect night to have a beef stew, but it's going to be a very unusual beef stew because of two things. Number one, it's a no simmer beef stew. You're going to put all your ingredients in, you're going to watch me today, and when all of that is in the pot and it's all reached its boiling point, you're going to move it off of the heat, turn the heat off, put the cover on, and you're going to let it sit until dinner time. That means that you're not going to simmer it all afternoon. All you're going to do when it's time to serve this stew is heat it up to its serving temperature, and everything is going to be wonderful, okay? The reason being, you're not overcooking your vegetables. How many times have you had a mushy beef stew that, well, it became like a porridge with some unidentifiable vegetables in it? When you see this stew finished, you'll see vegetables that have all their glorious color and all of their taste, and it's going to be the easiest beef stew that you ever made, and that's point number two. This takes no time at all. So welcome in today. We're going to get started. I'm going to take you down to counterside, and you are really going to love this beef stew, and you'll be able to see it at the end too. We don't have all day to muck around in the kitchen cooking and things. We like to do it early, get it done, set it aside, and let it cook itself. Okay, so come on over to counterside and let's get started. Welcome down the counterside, and we're going to go over our ingredients, but a couple things to mention beforehand. Always make sure to wash all your vegetables. Even if they say pre-washed, it's a very good precaution to take. Number two, wash your hands thoroughly. You know, you're feeding people. It's your responsibility what people eat. So we always want cleanliness. We don't want any food contamination whatsoever. You'll see I have here 1.5 pounds of what they call trozo paraguisato beef stir fry. The nice thing about this is very high quality beef with a low fat content, but it costs about 2/3 of the price of, say, the traditional beef cubes that you use for making a beef stew. The cuts are not that much smaller, but you can save yourself money because the meat is very good quality, and because it's under the stir fry label, they don't charge as much as if it's under the beef stew label. And a lot of that beef stew, you have to trim off gristle, and it's not really a good thing to do. So this really saves a lot of time, okay? And it's a very good quality meat. You're going to need 2 onions. I like to use red onions. They have a good flavor that's not overwhelming. You're going to need about 4 of the individual little pieces of garlic within the clove here, okay? You're going to need probably about 15 red potatoes, and the red potatoes are going to hold up very well. They're not going to turn to mush, okay? And it's going to be about 4 pounds of 3 or 4 pounds of the red potatoes here, and they're really good. You don't have to peel them, you can just slice them. They taste great. About 3/4 of a pound of fresh green beans, and we're going to be preparing them today. We're going to use about a pound or so of carrots. And I like to use the little baby carrots. All you have to do is just basically cut them in half, and they're good bite-sized pieces. In addition, and this is the secret part of this recipe and what makes it so good and has such savoriness, we're going to add a can of tomato paste here. Make sure you get a good one. I like to use Contadina. They have some non-GMO ones. This is non-GMO, and it's a 6-ounce can, and you're not going to believe the flavor it brings to this stew. I've had a lot of my friends on the other channel make this stew because I have it over there, and they have really enjoyed. They're shocked at how good it tastes. We're going to need some regular ground pepper. We're also going to need a little hint of cayenne pepper. We're not going to make this a hot dish. This is going to be 1/8 of a teaspoon for a whole pot, but it's going to wake up the taste buds, okay? Only a very tiny little bit, okay? And we're going to use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Oh, that smells so good. And we're going to use some salt. As you know, I'd like to use sea salt when I do cooking. I don't want to put regular salt in. It has ground glass, which is basically what they're using to keep it from silica, to keep it from sticking. We're going to use some extra virgin olive oil to brown up our meat here, and also a little bit of rice wine vinegar. We're going to use a couple tablespoons of this to sort of intensify the flavor too. The Asian rice wine vinegar. I'm giving you all of my secrets today here. So let's get started. Let's prep all of our vegetables, get that all ready to go, and then we'll brown our meat and we'll take it from there. Okay, actually we'll probably brown the meat first. I don't want the potatoes to get all brown. So we'll go ahead and we'll brown the meat. We'll let it sort of sit in its own juices for a little while, and then we'll get on to the rest of the vegetables, okay? Are you excited? What an exciting recipe. Make sure you have a good knife set. My friends were kind enough to give me a beautiful Henkel's knife set for Christmas, and it's probably one of the best ones on the market. So first thing we want to do is prep our onions here, our onions and our garlic, because we're gonna sweat them. We're going to put them in the pan with some olive oil. And we're going to let them get translucent and all tasty and gorgeous. And then we're going to add our meat to it. So first thing we need to do, strip off all that outer skin and get it right down to the good. But I usually like to take off the outside layer myself because, you know, it's closest to the soil and sometimes you never really know. So we'll just waste that into the sink there. So what I like to do is cut it down the middle like that, and then across grain, cut it once this way so that you have four quadrants like that, and then that little centerpiece doesn't really taste too good. So I like to remove that. It's almost like it's producing some of the plant for the top part. So I like to remove that, and then go ahead and cut this into thirds, so you still have some really nice sized pieces of onion. You don't want it to be super liquefied or super small, okay? So, all right, I'm going to cut this one in thirds, this one in thirds, and our first onion is ready to go in just like so. I'm going to take some olive oil. You may be able to see me over here. I'll take the olive oil. We'll start to get our pan ready, and I'm going to put about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil in there. So we'll go ahead and add our first onion. Now, when it comes to cloves, we just want to cut off the end there, and we want to remove about four or five, it doesn't really matter, to garlic things up to your taste. So I'm going to remove and use 4 of the cloves there, and we're going to peel off the wrapper, and cut them up very fine, and then add that to our onions. So I'll see you back here in a little bit when we have the onions and we have the garlic in the pan with the extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to let that cook up, get a little bit translucent, and that's when the flavors will be released from the onion and the garlic. We'll then add our meat in, and we are going to be all finished our base of the beef stew there, okay? Then it's simply a matter of adding our veggies and our secret spices to have an awesome stew, okay? See you in a little bit. Yeah, okay, so there's our garlic. Now we're going to cut that sort of in the size we want. Then we're going to go ahead and just pop our knife in it and just rock your knife just like I'm doing right there. And then you have the perfect size little pieces of garlic to go into the stew. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful size right there. So we're going to go ahead and add that in. And all we have to do is prep one more onion and we're ready to put the heat to it and get started. I can't tell you this. Don't you love the aroma of garlic in the kitchen? Ooh. It makes me crazy. I just want to grab things and kiss them when I have garlic. But they don't want me to kiss them. Look at how gorgeous that's looking. And back in the pan, I have an ultra clean stove here, no problem. Boy, I'm just kicking out pieces all over the place. Oh, there we go. There's another piece I'm really not liking that one. Remove that. Next I want to transfer these. They've already got a good start. I like to always start things in a shallow pan when I'm sweating the onions and the garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and add that now to what's going to be our stew pot here. Right into the bottom. We can sit this on the side now. Here, we'll move that to the side. Now we'll go ahead and start prepping our meat. I like to prep the meat separate and then add it into the onions and garlic, and then they'll meld together for a couple minutes on the heat. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and prep our meat now, and that's a relatively easy thing to do. In here, there's the Missy coming in. You started to smell good stuff in the kitchen, didn't you?
I smell some deliciosa.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start prepping our meat now, and it's important to get these into bite-sized pieces. You can see that these, all they really need is to be put into thirds and right over into our pan there. Relatively not too difficult to do, and it makes nice bite-sized chunks. She's mugging for the camera here in the kitchen today, but she knows that good eating awaits her tonight, so she's very excited.
Yes, I
With
am.
the pan. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're just taking our meat, and a wooden cutting board is always the safest cutting board to use, because when you use a plastic one, it's much easier for bacteria to grow down in the grooves. So, okay, wooden cutting boards are always the best. Okay, I'm gonna finish cutting this and see you over pan side. At this point, we have all of our beef in the pan. I'm going to go ahead and add another tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. That helps bring out the flavor. So we want to brown this beef. We don't want it to be colorless gray. We want it to have some brown to it. So once again, make sure that you have your nice big spoon. Okay. And that's what we're going to do, to start working that around. And remember, browning is flavor when it comes to cooking, okay? That's what gives the flavor. Piece of beef with a little bit of a tiny bit of, I don't want to say char, but a little bit of brown on it. It's going to taste much deeper and richer in flavor than a piece of beef that doesn't have that on it, okay? Stir that around good. I think the Missy's going to come in and snatch a little piece of the beef to do a little quality control here today, huh? Here she is. Let's get her a little piece for quality control there. There you go. It's very good beef. Hmm? Now what I want to do now is I have these juices coming out of the meat. Thank you, honey. I'm going to ask Jen to move this pot to here, to this location. And what we're going to do is pour off those beef juices. We don't want them to go away here. We're going to put them in the pot. And believe me, that'll really help enhance the flavor. Okay, so we've reduced that a lot. Now, Jen, if you'll move that over to the other side there, we will go ahead and we'll cook this down and achieve some brown, okay? That's exactly what we want to do. Have a little tiny little bit of a crust on it. Thank you, honey. All approving? I think she's all approving. I'm very satisfied with the color now. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And I'm going to switch pots now. And I'm now going to add that beef over here to the stew pot. Okay, we're going to add that right in. And now we're going to come to the part of the making the beef stew where we're going to be adding our spices in now, because we want the spices to infuse our meat at this point, okay? You can see the way we're looking in here. You smell? So what we're going to do now, I'm going to get my measuring spoon and we're going to add our spices. Okay. Got our measuring spoon. The first thing we want to do is add 2 teaspoons of salt, and you can do this right over the stew. It's not so imperative. And remember, sea salt's going to be a little more difficult to work with, but it's definitely healthier for you, okay, than regular salt that has silica added, okay? We'll put that in. Okay, next we're going to take a teaspoon of black pepper, ground black pepper. I actually like to use 1.5 teaspoons, but the Italian seasonings are going to give us quite a boost of a flavor profile. I also like to add one tablespoon of Asian rice wine. That helps really bring out that acid. It helps to break down the meat a little more and makes it taste absolutely amazing. Okay, then we're going to add two tablespoons of Italian seasoning in there, okay? And we're going to now add the heat to that and let those flavors really start to work into our onions and our beef. Okay, let's put the heat back on. Next, I want to show you how I prepare the potatoes. Okay, it's relatively easy. I just cut them into 3 sections, just like so. Then I'll actually put the potato back together on the board here, and then do 2 cuts the other way, and then I have potatoes that are just the right size for the stew. Okay, I'm going to finish doing this and we'll move on to the green beans, because that's going to probably be the most time-consuming part of making the stew. Okay, prepping our green beans. Came back to have a little snitch of the meat here. We got the spices on the meat, so there's spiced meat. Grab a piece.
Spiced meat.
Those spices make a difference, don't they?
Oh yeah. Very nice.
Very nice. So she's now in the stew mode for tonight and can't wait. Woo! Alright, I'll see you in a little bit.
Yummy.
When it comes to preparing green beans, what I'd like to do, because this is usually very labor intensive, wash them thoroughly and then use your knife and line them all up on your board. First one way with all of the stems together on the end, okay? And then all you're going to do is take your hand and put it on top and then just draw your knife right there across the top. And you're going to have taken all the stems off of that side. Now what you want to do is just flip it around to get to the other side. Bring all of your stems together the other way. It doesn't have to be perfection, but you will get all of the little ends off. Put them all together on the board. And go ahead and do the same thing for the other end. And look at that. You have a beautiful handful of beans that are all prepped. And all you have to do is cut them in thirds just like that, and they are ready for the pot. Okay, how nice is that? I'll go ahead and get our bowl and start collecting all of our beans. Just a really fast way to handle green beans that can often be a real chore. So try it. I think you'll like that technique as opposed to taking it one at a time and doing that. Well, if you have a lot of time on your hands, you can do that, but who wants to do that? I like to do things the smart way. Our carrots, and you can actually cut them into two. It's very fast to do, and it gives a better mouth feel when you have it in two. Okay, so this will be the last of our vegetables that we're preparing today. So really, in about 15 minutes, we've prepared all of our veggies, which is great. And so far, we're only about a half hour into the whole process. And once we bring it up to temperature and get it up to a boil, we turn it off the heat and we just set it aside, and it cooks itself from its own reducing heat all afternoon until it's time to serve. So all of our gorgeous vegetables will still have their wonderful colors, okay? All right, I'll see you in a little bit after all the veggies. I'm going to add just a fast shake of cayenne pepper, barely, probably 1/16 of a teaspoon there, okay? So all of our vegetables are now completed being prepared. We've got our green beans, we've got our potatoes, and we've got our carrots. It's time to combine them. We're going to reduce the amount of potatoes here. I'm going to cut these by about 30% because I got a little over eager in prepping them, but they'll make a good fried potato for breakfast tomorrow. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to remove some of them. Okay, and right into the stew pot we're going to add our Gonna have a few runaways there, it's okay. We've got a very clean stove here, but I'm going to suggest the ones that landed on the floor that you just put them in the trash, okay, or in your recycle bin. Alrighty, look at that beautiful color in there, huh? Is that beautiful? All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an initial cup, 6 cups of water to see what this looks like. It may end up being 8, it may end up being more, but we're going to start with 6 cups and bring the heat to it. All right, so I actually ended up deciding to use 8 full cups of water to bring it up to a level that covers all of the veggies. Okay. Now we want to go ahead and start bringing the heat to it, and over time you're going to release some more of the juices, and also some of the vegetable juices will start to be released, but we still have our one last secret ingredient that we're going to add. Up until a few years ago, I had never dreamed of using something like tomato paste to enhance the flavor of beef stew, but it gives an incredibly complex additional component to the flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 6-ounce can right here, and I like to use a knife to rapidly Remove that, put it on the can. Get all of that goodness, you want every bit out of there. The spoon is no good. The spoon leaves a lot. You can see that I have an ultra clean can. So you want to get every bit of that goodness and then put that into the stew. That's going to be your secret ingredient that is an incredible flavor enhancer. Believe it or not, in less than 40 minutes we're already done all of our prep work for the stew. Now as it goes through and cooks and as it sits and mellows in its own juices this afternoon, you're going to have a chance to taste it and make some adjustments that you want. I don't like to over salt food because people generally reach for the salt shaker on the table. And as such, I go a little under on the salt, and you can add more pepper, you can add more salt, you can add a little more of a touch of cayenne if you like, because that wakes up the taste buds, or a little more Italian seasoning. I never know until the end exactly what the ingredients are going to be in their exact composition, because you must leave it to the cook's own judgment in that regard. So I'm stirring that tomato paste in now. Okay, and that's also going to be a bit of a thickening agent. I don't like to use things like flour and Wondra flour and cornstarch to thicken things up. You want a stew to prepare and have its own broth. You don't want to add additional things to thicken it and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and stir it now and make sure that's all incorporated. And I am so excited. I know I say that on every baking video or every cooking video, but believe me, for this stew, it is worth it. You can see it's already taking on a gorgeous color. We're probably going to add 1 more cup of, well, we're going to actually let it work down a little bit. And I think I'll go ahead, I'm going to add 1 more cup. It'll bring it up to a full 9 cups of water, because we want some of it to boil off. And when it boils off that H2O, that water, it helps intensify the remaining liquids in there in broth, okay? So maybe I'll keep it at 8. I have such an excellent cleanup assistant here today. And Jen, look at the beautiful color that's taking on there, huh? Isn't that beautiful? Mm-hmm. This is the way it'll be served up tonight with that color. Instead of sitting and simmering for 5 or 6 hours and all of the carrots and all of the green beans and things lose their color and their vitamins, they're all preserved. Once we take this up to full temperature, up to a boil, and let it remain up there for about a minute or 2, then we're going to pull it off the heat covered, and it's going to continue cooking in its own juices with no heat added all day. It's the easiest beef stew recipe that you will ever make, and I kind of hated to tell her how easy it is, because now she always thought I slaved over a hot stove all afternoon when I was doing that. So have a little sniff of that, Jen. I'm going to give her a little taste of the broth there too. All right, so we are
scrumptious, delicious.
All right, we'll check back with you in a couple minutes. Thank you, honey, for coming in and help clean up today.
Yeah, we did a
much
quick
appreciated.
cleanup, and
so we'll serve this with some bread tonight, and it will be, I hope, good. So you'll be able to see it. Make special note of the color, and then look tonight when we serve it up. You won't see a lot of difference in the gorgeousness of the coloration, okay? I went ahead and I added a second can of the tomato paste because I wanted it to be a little bit of a deeper, have a little bit of a more of a reddish tint to it, and be a little more Italian in style. We've actually brought this up to a boil now, and believe it or not, we are done making the stew. Now it's simply a matter of covering it and removing it from the heat and allowing it to sit there for the next 5 hours or so until it's getting ready about 15 minutes before we eat, 15-20 minutes before we eat. We'll go ahead and put the heat to it again, bring it up to a temperature, and you're not going to believe how gorgeous it still looks. And I don't think Jen will believe how wonderful it tastes, and our friend Bobby too. So, okay, stay tuned. Four hours later, this stew is sat here, except maybe Missy Jen did a little bit of snitching. Only you'll know on the video. But there it is. Doesn't that look gorgeous? All I've done now is just put the heat to it. We'll serve it and we'll get the final verdict tonight. Okay? I hope you can also notice that by not cooking and having this simmering all day, the vegetables have still maintained their beautiful colors, and we don't have a stew that's mushy at all. It's all well composed. All the potatoes look great. No mushiness. This is not mashed potato and mashed vegetable stew. This is Italian beef stew. They always say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I have Bobby here, and Bobby's going to take a little taste test, and then the Missy Jen, give that a whirl, Bobby. I know Bobby loves that because I've made that for him over the years. Missy Jen, your turn. Tell me if we have a winner or not.
Oh, that's
some
really
of that
good.
meat. Piece of that meat on there. As Missy Jen would say, is it a slobber knocker or not?
It is a slobber knocker, a home run. It's
Home
awesome.
run.
All right,
Good
well, go
stuff.
ahead and give them the usual send out we do on the channel here.
Well, if you like this video, share it, give us a thumbs up, leave us some really super awesome, delicious comments down in the comment section. Hugs, love, and kisses. Mwah. Toodles.
Bon appetit!